Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at CoreWeave. It is time for another update, and today we will be discussing about the possibility of having a bottom already formed, and we will also be taking a look at even the most bearish interpretations and what we can look out for within this correction in wave 2. Now, before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking a quite simple and basic 1-2 setup where we had an impulse formed within the wave 1, and we have been looking for the correction and the reversal in the wave 2 into the area of support between the $97 all the way down to the $48.5 ever since we were somewhere around those areas, this time period we were looking for this correction. And in fact, we were even looking for a possible bottom directly within those movements to the downside, which, to be honest, we predicted quite accurately playing out. Now, not necessarily this latest additional low here, but we played that in, we counted that in within the structure that has formed afterwards, and we have even managed to determine quite early that this structure to the upside was unreliable, and we were looking for a likely reset to form within this area, especially after breaking below certain levels of support within this area. And yeah, we did play that quite flawlessly, and I don't claim to know exactly how this structure is going to unfold in the end, because nobody basically knows. Nobody actually knows what is going to happen, but we can still track what are the highest probability scenarios, because personally I don't even know if this area of support for the wave 2 will end up holding in the end. It is an area of higher probabilities. It is an area of lower risk reward ratios compared to the rest of what was above those levels, which was quite extended. A lot of people must have entered at those levels before the crash that occurred, and we wouldn't have done that because we knew that the structure that has occurred within this area was unreliable and was low probability, which is why we were prepared for this large movement to the downside. Now, within this structure, we do have already the possibility to actually claim that it is complete. I do have an interpretation within which I can assume that this correction to the downside is done, and I can go through it quickly. We won't necessarily focus on that because I want to see some evidence first, but I could track something like an ABC movement within which in the wave C I could look at a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th. Now this would have to be within an ending diagonal in the wave C, and honestly that is not a problem. That is the interpretation that I can track that could allow me to consider that we have indeed formed the bottom, but I don't have any evidence. Once again, there is no evidence that a bottom has formed. We need to break certain levels of resistance for that. Now, in the case of this movement down, we extended quite far lower within what we were tracking in the 5th wave to the downside. I don't believe we were tracking the 5th wave in a bad interpretation. I believe it just extended much deeper than we necessarily expected based on the general market sentiment that is going on along many stocks right now. And the same way, I actually do see the possibility of having formed a bottom among many of the stocks that we are tracking. I also see it possible here. Now, in that case, or in the case of a possible extension of the 5th wave to the downside, I actually prefer a different interpretation. I would like to look for an even larger extension, which is very much possible, where I would still consider this a 1-2, 1-2, but then this wouldn't be the 3rd wave down. I would consider this a wave 1 down instead. I would be looking now at a wave 2 up here, and then I would be considering this the actual wave 3 unfolding to the downside. Now, in that scenario, I even checked the extensions and the retracement levels into the resistance areas, and they do fit in quite perfectly, where if I consider this the wave 3 down, well, it would have reached perfectly the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. And if I look here and consider this the wave 4 correction as part of that movement, well, we can actually see that we have reached perfectly, if I draw this right anyway, we would have reached perfectly the 100, or not the 100, the 38.2% retracement in the wave 4 correction, which is telling me that I should probably pursue tracking this interpretation for even lower prices, because yeah, as I was saying, it is possible to have bottomed, but I need evidence. I need to see those levels that allow me to track lower prices to be broken. And in that case, I will now be tracking this as a 1, 2, and a third wave down here all the way, a fourth wave up, and then a fifth wave down, where the relevant levels of resistance for the fourth wave correction would right now be between the $78 all the way up to the $95 level at the 50% retracement. If we manage to break here the 50% retracement, it would be a good sign, it would be a bullish sign, but it wouldn't be a confirmation that we have indeed bottomed. It would be a confirmation that this structure to the downside is not going to work out as an impulse, yeah? And in that case, or not necessarily an impulse, it is not going to extend as part of an impulse, but I could still see further extensions, for example, within the yellow interpretation. Now, if it is to play out in the white scenario here, having a wave C to the downside in an impulse, I could still see a couple of 4 or 5 patterns before this wave C is really complete. But right now, we need to be patient. We need to watch from the sidelines, at least from a short time frame perspective, because if we are to look from a large time frame perspective, keep in mind I gave you the ideal target for the wave C to the downside, which is the 100% extension of the wave A. Now, whether it is the wave C or a wave Y doesn't matter exactly, but we reached that very well and actually only got a week below it, but we recovered from those levels and we technically did fulfill the minimum expectations. I do have a full count. I do have on the large time frame a 3-wave structure within the wave 2, so I don't really need any additional lows to consider that this pattern is full. And from a large time frame perspective, we did get nearly to the 61.8% retracement, so we are very well prepared for a bottom, again, from the large time frame perspective. Now, on the short time frame, to wrap it up, I am looking at these resistance levels. I don't necessarily prefer further extensions to the downside in this area. They are possible, but based on this initial movement to the upside, I am prepared already for the wave 4 to be unfolding if it is to even extend lower. If not, I am waiting for the 5-wave structure to the upside for a clear signal that this correction in the wave 2 has bottomed, and then, as I was mentioning, a break above here, the $95 level, would be a bullish sign, but we still need to watch out for even deeper resistance levels. But we won't focus on those too much right now. We will wait and be patient for this structure to break, for a signal that, yeah, we should even look out for higher resistance levels for a signal that, yeah, this has clearly bottomed. But for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.